Hi, how's it going, everybody?
Hello.
It's a beautiful Saturday here in Las Vegas, and I'm one of your hosts. I'm Rose from McDonald Bookkeeping Services, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hi, everyone. It's Shamara here with SWHR Consulting. And today...
Well, we have a great show, but first I want to make sure that for everybody who is maybe not part of the show, who won't be involved, who maybe didn't get the tickets for being a part of the Q&A session. Thank you to everyone who has always been faithful listeners to us on whatever podcast platform you're on, you know, iHeart or Spotify. But even though we don't see you all the time, you know, we appreciate you, and we're just so thankful. People who watch on YouTube, and of course, all of our social followers, right? So we're excited about that. We're happy to have you.
Yes, thank you. So are we getting started? Are we going to introduce? Or at least tell them who we're going to have on our show today?
Yes, we are waiting for our guest. He's not here yet, but I'm sure there's still a lot to talk about until he arrives. So so I'll let Shamara introduce our guest to you guys today. Go ahead.
So today we have a very special guest today. His name is Joseph Amato. And he's done quite a lot, especially in the community, especially in Las Vegas community. He is a representative for the South Business Administration in Nevada District as a director. He serves for a champion for entrepreneurs just like ourselves, and really is focused on increasing the utilization of SBA. I mean, I think a lot of companies or businesses out there are not really educated on what SBA is all about and how they support businesses. So he's here to give us some really great insight, and we're excited to have him be a part of the show because I know we can all use some information and resources. Yeah. So once he jumps on, of course, he's gonna, tell us all about himself, but I'll reintroduce him again once he gets here. But we're super excited. We're all about making sure that we can share information, give you guys resources, and he's definitely a great resource to be a part of our show today.
Yeah, and so we do want you guys to hold tight for a little bit because we know that many of you are going to have a lot of questions, and he will be able to answer them for you. As well as give you some insight about, what the SBA is all about, how it actually started, the purpose of it, and how the SBA helps us in our small business and business startups, and growing, of course, in its history. So, of course, we're in a tumultuous time. We're kind of coming, to the end of COVID, I guess, right now.
If you say so. hopefully we're coming out of COVID if people actually listen and follow the protocols. So of CDC. So hopefully we can be able to come out of it.
Yeah. And so so he should be arriving shortly. So I do want you guys to prepare for that, prepare to ask your questions. And of course, just to get familiarize your guys. Okay, so actually he's trying to connect. Joe is trying to connect. He just sent us a message. I just got a message. So if you saw me look away, he's trying to connect. So hold tight, people, technology. So just to kind of tell you a little bit about ourselves before Joe gets here is, of course, I'm a small business owner as well as Shamara. So we have the traditional concerns like everybody else, loans and a lot of people say, and they complain and say, the SBA, they don't want to work with us. They're not helping us. And there's a lot of questions that you might want to ask. And so we struggle too. We struggle ourselves. So this is going to be really insightful for us. So, of course, many of you might have questions about the protection loan, maybe just small business loans itself, what really the SBA is doing for us in our community and business owners, because laws are changing all the time. Shamara.
Hold on. I didn't hear. It was kind of breaking up a little bit. So yeah, I think when it comes to exactly your point, we tend to shy away from things that we don't understand. So it's really exciting to have this individual come on the show, as we mentioned before, because there's a lot to know about SBA. I think a lot of people just have this impression of, okay, they don't really want to work with the community, or they focus more on bigger businesses. But as you can see in the name, it's to focus on small businesses and helping smaller businesses continue to fuel the economy, because that's what we do. We fuel the economy. And yeah, you know, and so I'm really excited to get some information. When it comes to the questions, though, you know, we're going to pop those questions up on the screen. And so as those questions come in, he's going to get an opportunity to respond to those questions, as we are not accepting live calls. Correct? Just want to make sure that we're still on the same page on that. Okay.
And the reason it made it a whole lot easier for us to not do the live call-in is because we're sure that many people are going to have questions, but he's going to have to elaborate. And we don't want to tie up the lines and him having to elaborate, especially if there's a question that really doesn't pertain to his industry or his field that he may not be able to answer. But of course, he'll answer whatever you need, you know, that he or direct you, of course. So so many of you right now, I'm sure, have probably either applied for the Paycheck Protection Loan, maybe a small business loan in the past, approved, disapproved. Maybe just want to know how things work, or really what it can do for us, you know, here in Nevada. And so those are important questions for me. And at this time, of course, some people are getting misinformed information, as we all know, about having to repay the loan, not repay the loan. What's the criteria? What are any criteria? What even qualifies you, right?
Yeah, and especially now too, I mean, they with the up and coming changes as well, they're putting more money into this type of fund as well, because they ran out of money. And now they're trying to repurpose again so that people can get some more help during this time. So just kind of understanding the process to be able to get the money when it comes to that too. So again, I'm super excited to have him be a part of the show and give us some great information. I think there, like you said, there's quite a few misconceptions in regards to how to apply for the loan. Do you know, if you're, for example, a consulting company, or like for us, we are a LLC, but you know, we probably hire like contractors as our support, right? How does that work?
Right.
Like us, where we don't necessarily have a payroll, people on payroll. So kind of being able to answer those types of questions when you do have contractors, and if you even qualify for the loans as well.
Or yourself, maybe you're not paying yourself. As the employer, you're not on payroll. So then it's like, what does that do for you? And then, you know, when you do get the loan, if you are approved and you do get any of the loan, are you audited for it? You know, what are the requirements of it? You know, are you reading the specifics and the details and what it involves and what you're supposed to be doing? So there's so much misinformation that I have found myself. Some people saying you don't have to pay it back, don't worry. And then I'm finding, no, that's not necessarily the case. It really depends on the situation. And it's something that we talk about often, is that, and I'm glad you guys are being patient, so stay with us. He'll be here shortly. He's just trying to connect. We say often that we share that every business entity is its own entity. It's its own business. It's like no other. So just because something works for someone else or happened for someone else, it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to apply to you.
Very true.
So we're hoping he gets on pretty quickly. He's trying to connect. Just one second. So he said he's not connecting. Hold on. For some reason, he's not. So we'll probably have to get him on the line. Just a second.
Thank you guys for being patient. I know that you guys are excited to ask your questions. Thank you for being here. We're super excited to get him on the show and answer whatever questions that you guys may have.
Okay, so 1 second. So he's going to hold on tight. I'm emailing him back. He's just having a little bit of problem. So if he can't get on the screen, he's going to be able to hear your questions as well as you're going to be able to hear him. But he is trying to connect. So please be patient and hold tight. We really appreciate that. You know, technology can be a little bit much today in this time. So hold on a second. So he's going through. So for all of you, I'm not sure if you're all Nevada residents, if you're all business owners, and or if you have employees. So of course, introduce yourself so that we can see who you are and where you're coming from. Hey, thank you, Tina. Thanks for checking in, Tina. We also see you, Yadira. And so hopefully he'll be here pretty soon. He's checking in. Thanks everybody I see some of you are on YouTube. We appreciate you for holding on, all of our listeners. Just stay tuned, I promise. We're going to check you out. Again, my name is Rose. I'm with McDonald Bookkeeping Services, where I provide accounting and financial services. And my co-host.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shamara with SWHR Consulting, and I provide human resource consulting for startups and small businesses.
And here we go. Okay, I think we've got them coming in.
Yay. Perfect.
Hello, hi.
It's Joe Amato at Heat Airports.
Hi, it's Joe. Sorry, guys, he couldn't get connected. So I guess if you're still trying, but we do have people waiting on you to ask some questions.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get him to, hold on a second, you guys, so you can hear him. He's having a little bit of problems, but he'll start getting connected, and hopefully you can hear him, and we'll place the, until he can get connected, we'll go ahead and get the answers, and we'll do a little introduction, and Joe can tell you a little bit about himself, and hopefully you can hear him all. Go ahead, Joe, if you don't mind, Mr. Amato.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I apologize for this bad connection, but I'm in the airport, and supposedly I was going to connect, but it's not. So I'm still working on it, but we can definitely talk while I try to work on it.
So what's happened is he's at the airport having a connection problem. I want to make sure that you guys can hear. Are you guys able to hear him? Can you hear him, you guys?
Yes, I can hear him.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's start getting into some questions while Joe is trying to connect. And the first one I have is, the first question for you, Joe, is from, just a second. We have, okay, Marla Nelson. She just completed her self-certification as a women-owned small business. But I understand that the process is changing on July 15th. Are the new applications and required documents available now?
I am, again, right now I'm really focused on EIDL and PPP loans and the forgiveness program. I have no idea about the woman self-certification program. Basically, my deputy would definitely have more information on that than I do. So I hate that to be the first question I can't answer, but it is nothing that I have readily available to me right now, focusing on disaster loans as we are.
Now, being that I know that it's really important right now because of the whole situation with the Paycheck Protection Program and small business loans, a lot of people are under the impression that nothing has to be paid back, and maybe not. But can you give a brief scenario of really how that works? What's the criteria? So maybe people aren't really reading the actual the detail, the blueprint. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, first of all, there's two different programs. There's the EIDL program, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. That is a loan program. It has a newer portion of it that was done a couple of months ago called the EIDL Advance, which is a grant that is up to $10,000. It's based on the number of employees you have in your company. So if you're a sole proprietor, it's one person. If you're a business with 10 people or more, you're eligible for $10,000, up to $10,000. If you have one person, two persons, you're $1,000, $2,000. That is a grant that is not to be paid back. But the EIDL loan portion is a loan. It's a 30-year amortization with a 3.75% fixed rate for profit businesses and 2.75% fixed rate for nonprofit businesses. It's a very low rate cost of funds loan, and that is a loan. The PPP, or Paycheck Protection Program, is a funding mechanism which is supposed to end as being a forgiven debt. So when you get PPP, which is basically there to help you with your payroll, your staffing, your employees, or if you're an employee of one and a contract sole proprietor, it's meant to help you. That is initially an 8-week program where you basically get funds based on your average income over a month times 2.5. Those funds are basically then dispersed over 8 weeks. Now, for some reason, your business is having a hard time staffing up, getting employees in, ramping up because of stay-at-home orders or statewide or citywide non-essential business closures. The Senate and House just passed a resolution that allowed the 8-week program to be extended up to 24 weeks or through the end of December 31st, 2020. That is supposed to be a forgiven loan, forgiven funding, unless you do something outside the parameters of the two major requirements, which is number one, you bring yourself back to full staffing over a specific period of time, which we don't know anymore because of the new ruling we haven't got guidance on, and that you use at least now 60% of the PPP funding for payroll. It used to be 75%, is now 60%. Those are the two major programs, EIDL A and EIDL B, which is EIDL Loan and EIDL Advance. The EIDL Loan is repayable. The EIDL Advance is a grant. And then PPP, which is a funding mechanism.
No, I think we might have lost him.
Did you lose me?
Go ahead. No, we've got him here. Go ahead.
Okay. And the PPP program, which is the funding mechanism, which is supposed to be forgiven debt with non-taxable consequences. So hopefully I gave you enough information there.
So what is the normal? So we have Yadira Valencia, and she said she already went through the whole EDIL loan to apply, and she's already received her approval, and it's been over a month ago. Is there an estimated turnaround time, or do you have any idea?
I wish I knew. The EIDL program is run by the Office of Disaster Assistance. They are part of SBA, but completely independent from us. Just recently, they gave us some email addresses that could be in access for status, because they won't tell us anything directly. So normally what should happen is it's turned into a couple of month process when it, again, for whatever reason, decides just pure volume. They got over 5 million applications. I think at this point, after 7-8 weeks, they're about to 10% of their applications have now been approved, and somewhere in the area of 10% have been declined. So they're still going through, just getting through the first million or so applications that were submitted, just because it's just pure volume. What should happen is after they get their loan docs, we're thinking a reasonable amount of time, 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks at most, you should be receiving your funding, and it drops out of the sky. One day you look at your bank account, you have money in there. So just be vigilant of your bank account once you sign your EIDL docs. And I'm hoping that 4 weeks is definitely the limit, but we're just not sure. We're trying to push every day to get more information. Now, if somebody needs information on their status of their EIDL loan, they can email the SBA directly at FOCWCOMMCOVID-19@SBA.gov. That is, you can email that, give them your confirmation number, name of your business, and any kind of details you can give them, and ask them for status. And they've been pretty good at responding to that email if you inquire that way.
So what could disqualify someone? Because it's, the rumors like everybody.
I'm just going to ask the same question.
Yeah, go ahead, Shamara.
The disqualification.
No, I was going to ask the same question in regards to how are you? Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead.
Okay. The declinations have been more than I'd like. Initially, there were no credit declinations, and now we understand there are some credit declinations. I'm not sure what the credit score number is, but it seems like if you're under something like 560 or below, and I'm just guessing, that could prohibit you from getting an EIDL loan, but I'm not sure. That's not a biblical statement. I just know somewhere in the upper 500s, you could definitely be refused an EIDL loan. There's also things that have said not able to verify your information, your personal information, your business information. That if you, and I'll give you an email address that you may ask for information or reconsideration. If you've been declined, there's also not been able to verify income, unverifiable information in general. So if that happens, you basically can email, it's pdcrecons@sba.gov. Basically send them your confirmation number, the name of your business, and ask them, what does it mean why you were declined? If it's credit, explain to them, Why were you refused for credit? If they're saying unverified information, find out what it is. Whatever. They're supposed to give you specifics, but they've been giving you general explanations or general reasons. And I implore everybody to reach out to the email I just gave you and find out specifics. And they are usually pretty good at getting back to you.
Okay, so that was questions actually Yadira Valencia was asking. So we'll make sure that if you guys will listen again on the replay, or we'll actually give you that email where he did state that if it was declined, you can get information and they can actually resubmit, correct?
Well, they can inquire. Yes, it's pdcrecons@sba.gov, and that's for reconsideration of a decline. And yes, definitely reach out to them and be adamant about, why were you turned down? Give me more specifics. We found out that some of the missing information or unverified information has been able to be verified and your loan gets approved. So it's very important that you do that.
Does it matter how your entity is set up, your business? Is that a criteria at all? Does it make a difference?
It shouldn't. I don't believe it does. I mean, if you're a corporation, LLC, corporate S, corporate C, sole proprietor, independent contractor, you're all eligible. So, or a nonprofit. So you're all eligible. So your business structure, your business status shouldn't have any effect at all.
What about amount of, if you don't have?
So how does that work?
If you don't have actual employees and they're independent contractors?
Well, if you're applying for this, you're an employee of one. If you're an independent contractor, sole proprietor, you're an employee of one. So you can never have no employees if you're applying for this. A lot of people basically put 0 and they automatically were declined and they're wondering why. Even though you're not considered an employee as an independent contractor, you are an employee of one when it comes to this program. The same with sole proprietor. Even though you're not an employee of your business that you own, for this program, you have to put one person, yourself, as the employee.
That's perfect. I think that answers our question, because we were trying to figure out if you're not, on your actual payroll as an employee, how do you go around it? So that's great to know that you can still apply as putting one.
Now, okay, so what if now there's also the actual, I know there's when I went online, there's what they consider disaster loan, but then there's, the small business loan itself. Now, obviously that works differently, and there is repayment. I mean, that you have to repay that back, correct?
With the EIDL loan, yes, it's a 30-year amortization, so it's like getting a mortgage. Even, there's people that get $100,000 with a 30-year AM, 3.75% interest rate. I mean, the payment is very, very low. So there is the quote-unquote opportunity to, and let me tell all your listeners something very important that I want them to sort of be aware while I do a quick calculation here. So you get a $100,000 loan at the 3.75% interest rate. Your payment's $293 a month until you pay it off. There's no prepayment penalty. And let me tell your listeners something very, very important, and those who are listening and viewing. I have told at least 200 or 300 people in the last couple of weeks that have said to me, I don't want the loan, I'm not sure, I don't want a loan, I don't want to pay it back, blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling everyone this, and I want you all to listen. Right now, any small business in America, cash is king. So if you basically get a $100,000 loan from the federal government that you have to pay back in 30 years at 3.75% interest, that's going to cost you $293 a month, and you don't have to make your first payment for 12 months until your 13th month. Hold on to that money. No, hold on to it. Even if you don't use it the first year, you don't have to make a payment. Your interest is accrued and it's wrapped into that payment already. So for all intents and purposes, I'd rather see every person hold on to the money for 6, 8, 12 months and not need it and just pay it back. Interest, basically just pay it back. You can prepay it at any time. At least you've made the proactive decision to say, listen, my business is taking off again. I don't need this cash. I don't need to basically borrow money at this point. so I'm going to give it back. Instead of being in a position 6, 8 months, a year from now saying, holy moly, I wish I did not send back that money because I could really use it now and my bank isn't helping me, nobody's helping me, and I'm in a really, really bad position right now. So, and I wish I had that money back. So I tell all your viewers, listeners, all the people that are following you, please be sensible when it comes to, if you get the award, take the award. If you've got to incur interest over a year or accrued interest when you pay it back, so be it. I'd rather you pay $300-400 because you don't need the money and interest than basically be begging for that money a year from now and nobody's going to give it to you.
Yusira asked, is it normal not to
is it normal not to even get the advance after 2.5 months of applying?
Believe me, my internal joke is, you're in the queue and hopefully you'll be funded before 2025. I mean, I just don't know. I wish on whatever position I have in the SBA, which is supposed to be, substantive, that I just have no idea. The program was put together in a week. It's been evolving over the 9 weeks it's been in place. I just don't know how fast it's going to move. I mean, you could wait 2.5 months and all of a sudden the money will show up in your account tomorrow. I mean, that's how crazy it's been. And it's been a disadvantage to some people and it's been a great savior to others. I mean, it's the way the basically program is working right now, just because of sheer volume and the number of people they have working in the program.
So when it comes to the now I know there could be a potential audit that, and I think it's the banks that audit you, not SBA, is my understanding when it comes to how you're using the money for the Paycheck Protection Program.
Okay, under $2 million, you have what they call safe harbor. And basically it means if you've got a loan under $2 million, your possibility of being audited by either the bank or the SBA is very minimal. They basically put it out there a couple of weeks ago. If you have over $2 million, there's a good possibility that both the bank will review, do a type of audit, and that the SBA, you're eligible for an audit as well. So, again, most of the loans, the average loan size is like $100,000 or less at this point, especially with PPP2. So, the possibility of you being audited is very remote. All I just tell people is just keep good records of how you do your distributions, from the PPP funds. And, whether you keep a ledger or cancel checks or just your bank statements, just keep an accurate ledger of where the money goes. Make sure at this point now, 60% or more of your funding goes toward payroll, and that the other costs or expenses that you pay are eligible PPP expenses, which are all occupancy related: mortgage interest, rent, leases, and utilities.
No vendors, no suppliers.
Those, and you'll be okay.
So that doesn't include paying like a vendor or somebody for products purchased.
Not at a PPP. No, you should not be paying vendors on PPP unless they're your landlord or your leasing company.
Now, what if you have money left available? I mean, does it matter that you didn't spend it all?
Well, what basically is going to happen is there's a lot of companies that after the initial 8 weeks will have money left in PPP. What the intent of Congress was to take. So say you get $1 million and after 8 weeks you have $500,000 left because you had a hard time ramping up, had a hard time bringing people back, you were closed, for part of that time. So after that 8 weeks, if you have $500,000 left, as long as you use the balance of that money, the $500,000 you have left, toward payroll, and you can pay that payroll for another 16 weeks based on the 24-week cap that the Congress just passed. So you basically can continue to pay your staff with government money for the balance of the time until that money is extinguished, and your loan and your PPP funding will still be forgiven.
Okay.
Yes, that's the new change is just done. So if you have money left, keep on covering payroll. You're paying your payroll with government funds. It's an amazing situation. And if you needed another, if it takes you another 16 weeks to pay that, you've got up to 24 weeks to evaporate or extinguish or utilize all your PPP funding, and that will give you the best possible situation and still get forgiveness.
Now, I'm hearing that.
Are you saying that it's okay for, for example, a business that did have independent contractors but want to reestablish themselves and bring on these people on their payroll? You're saying that they can transition their business in that way and utilize this money to do that?
I didn't hear your whole question. You were sort of muffled. So I really need to hear it again because I want to make sure I give you the right answer.
Yeah. So in regards to a business that may have had independent contractors working for their company, but now that they're in this stage of possibly getting this funding and want to transition those people into actual employees so that they could ramp back up and get ready to expand their business, is that, are they comfortable with them using that funding to be able to do so?
They can pay them as employees. They cannot pay them as independent contractors. That does not change. So if they hired a company that basically had, basically 25 employees and 15 independent contractors, and we were very, very certain to let them know that they couldn't use PPP funding to pay for independent contractors. What they did is they transferred some of those independent contractors to employees, and at that point they were allowed to pay them.
Okay.
But yeah, for all intents and purposes, independent contractors cannot be paid out of PPP funding to a business because they're eligible to get PPP funding on their own. So that's where the difference is. And a business has to be very careful not to pay independent contractors with PPP funding, or that money will not be forgiven.
Okay.
So we have another question here. Can we pay business license renewal and employer tax portions with the PPP loan?
So employer tax portion with the PPP loan.
Again, it's all of a sudden you guys got really muffled. It's hard to hear you. I'm sorry, I didn't get that question.
Oh, it's okay. So Yadira wants to know if we can pay business license renewal and employer tax. I'm thinking employer tax with a PPP loan.
Okay. Taxes, depending on how you used your basis, or depending on how you set up the business, when you set in the information. So if you used like a 940 for the business to basically represent your total monthly average, that included taxes, benefits, everything that was included in your normal monthly average. If you use that as basis for your PPP from 2019, then you can pay those same exact expenses with PPP funding, in the 8 weeks or the additional weeks if you need them because you still have time. So it's really important for you to sort of know and understand that however you submit it will be however you submitted for funding will be replicating how you use your funds. And most of the banks are very understanding that in some cases that included both employee and employer taxes and everything else. So if that's what you use for basis, then that's what you'll be able to use for funding going forward.
Okay.
And in regards to the amount that someone is approved for, are they just decide what amount they want to give, even though they might submit for $50,000, but they only get 10? How does that exactly work?
Okay, again, when I hear your question, I can't really distinguish what you're saying. So
sorry, I'm not. Maybe it's just.
So what it is what she's asking is for applying for not for the PPP loan, but for any of the for the emergency, the COVID, the SBA loan, the EIDL loans. What factors determine how much you get?
Everything you asked me about EIDL is going to be the same answer. I just don't know.
Yeah, he
doesn't. All we understood it. They're just, first of all, the only people who can apply for EIDL still is agricultural firms. No other companies, no other entities, businesses can apply for EIDL. And when the second phase started a couple of weeks ago. So if you apply for EIDL, they especially the Streamline program, they asked for your gross sales from last year. They asked for your cost of goods sold, and somewhere in there was a variation or some kind of understanding of how they determined your funding amount. We just don't know, because remember, this program started with a $2 million max for business, then it dropped to $500,000 max, and now we're figuring out that business can only get as much as $150,000. So the program's been ever changing. We're really not sure how they determine any businesses, any single amount for any business. We're trying to figure it out, but nobody's sharing us the secret sauce. We just know that they're coming up with an arbitrary number that people can either accept or not accept.
Michelle and I hope I said that correct, Michelle. Do you have an idea of what the funds can be used for? Can it be used to pay down credit card balances for the IDL?
The idle funds can be used for anything that is involved in the business operation. Cannot be used for payroll because it runs into some double dipping issues if you got both PPP and idle. If you just get an idle loan, then you could use it for even payroll if you're not getting a PPP loan. But if you're getting PPP and idle, then don't use idle for anything having to do with payroll. But anything that's involved in the business operation itself, including installment debt, loan payments, lease payments, business credit card payments, yes, you can use idle funding for that.
Do you see what now this is just aside from everything that's having to do with the Paycheck Protection Loan or anything like that. What do you see are some of the high factors of us as small business owners that why we're not getting funding? Because I hear a lot of people say, oh, I've applied for loans, I've done, and it's just like I can't get qualified, the banks are being too difficult. Are there other banks, other resources that they could use because they're not, these bigger banks aren't approving a lot of these loans? So, there's other avenues, maybe classes they can take, or just misconceptions that we don't see as small business owners.
All right. There's so many parts of that. Let me sort of break it down. Okay. Say that to me again. This was so much. I was sort of thinking of three different things at once, and I want to make sure I'm answering correctly.
So, of course, myself being a small business owner and being in the accounting industry, I find that many other small business owners are applying for small business loan to the SBA. And then a lot of them are saying, oh, they're turned down. They're just not approving anybody. There's so many things where they think if they're not looking at the small business needs. But could it be a misunderstanding between what we're not doing, but the big banks are turning down a lot of the small businesses? Are we going to the wrong banks? We have misconception of how it works.
Okay. I got myself in a lot of trouble talking about the big banks, so I can't say anything about that.
Okay.
All I can tell you is that there are, here in the state of Nevada, there are certain banks that have been more aggressive and been more selective in what they'll do with the PPP program. There are other banks that have been very amiable and have worked very hard to serve and satisfy as many PPP applicants as possible. The program, for all intents and purposes, is about they're down to doing very, very few loans. And most banks have actually pulled out of the program now because the majority of people looking for PPP have received PPP. Mm-hmm. So I would tell you that if somebody is urgently still looking for PPP funding, especially if they're an independent contractor, sole proprietor, a smaller business that hasn't taken advantage of it yet, the good news is there's over $100 billion still left in the program. And the program is still basically going to be in place for another 24 days, so a little over 3 weeks. So if anybody's having a real difficult problem, they can reach out to me directly at joseph.amato, that's AMATO, at SBA.gov. Let me know if that they have been able to find a bank, and I'll basically point them in the direction of some lenders that may be able to them, depending on what kind of business they are.
Okay, guys. So, and of course, for any of you, if there's any of the emails that you guys did not get, we're going to make sure that we do leave them on you will see to repeat the show over and over again for the interview, for the Q&A session. So you'll be able to get that information and ask more questions. Did you have a question, Shamar, before I don't interrupt?
I did, but it's more about, him in regards to how did he get into this, into this industry? Why is it that he, really want to help small businesses? I know that a lot of us try to avoid people like him because we're not really sure, or we're not really, comfortable maybe having the conversation about our finances as a small business and what we're trying to accomplish. So just want to get a little bit of backstory about him, why this, and why he loves helping small businesses.
Who, me? Oh my gosh. Well, I never planned for this, that's for sure. I've been doing business development, consulting, financing for 25 plus years. I think I was born with both a calculator and a pencil in my hand. Basically doing deals, structuring deals, helping people get funding for their businesses for decades and decades and decades. It's something I enjoy doing because I love, business, helping businesses is like, helping people, give birth to their future, helping them, get ahead, get above. The entrepreneurial nature of this country, the capitalistic nature of this country, no matter what the negatives that happen from day to day, this is truly a land of opportunity. And believe me, I see opportunity with all types of people every day. That's where I have my most fun. Since I moved to Nevada 3 years ago, I never had the interactions, being an East Coaster and living in a whole different world. I never had the level of interactions I've had, with the Asian community, with the Latin community, with the African American community, with what we call the underserved markets. And to me, it's just a blessing. And I cherish every moment working with businesses and seeing people get ahead, seeing our families prosper. It's not an easy road. That's why, being a consultant in this industry was always a very good business for me, because everybody who's smart knows to get an expert to help them. I always try to be very smart, very much on tune with what is needed, and being very benevolent the way I try to help people. So, taking this gig with the government, almost 3 years ago, was not my immediate choice or something I ever thought I'd have to do. But I really feel blessed that, especially in the last couple of months, to be in the position I am to help as many people as I can. And to be sort of not only a mouthpiece for small business, but a champion for them as well, especially with them going through such a hard time as they already have.
So, okay, so this may not be a question you can answer, but I'm hoping you can. This has to do with, legislation and how we actually get the funding to Nevada so that we could actually, so I'm not sure the right way to ask that question, but I know that it's who we place into office and what we need here in Nevada that gets us this funding, right?
So, are you talking about the EIDL and the PPP program specifically, or are you talking about something else?
In general, of getting, so Nevada, because they say there's money available.
Yes, but nobody knows about it. Like, it's just, how do we get more educated to know where to go find the money and who's that person to reach out to?
Yeah.
And how do we get money back into Nevada so people know that they can, find the money?
Well, with the EIDL program, Nevadans received over $704 million in EIDL funding so far. So, they've almost gotten $1 billion, almost $750 million in EIDL funding so far, and that number is going to continue to grow as more applications are approved. And that's an approved funding, people that receive that money. In the PPP program, Nevadans received over $4 billion of PPP funding. And that's, obviously through your lender, where the EIDL program is directly through the SBA. So those two programs, Nevada, for the size of our state, we just saw a Wall Street, I think a Washington Post article, which put Nevada at number 1 for EIDL funding, and based on the size of the state, the number of businesses, and the amount of loans that have been basically approved in Nevada, at $704 million. It actually alerted me to say, okay, well, we've done well in the number of businesses in our state, the number of people in our state. to do well, to get that amount of money. But on the same level, I'm saying if we're number one, then there must be a lot of people that are still waiting for money everywhere else, because we have less people that received enough money to be number one, but we know there are a lot of people still waiting for money here in Nevada. So it was sort of a double-edged sword when I saw that information. So those are the two main programs. I am going to be meeting with all the lenders by the end of June, basically to have sort of like a mini lender summit to talk about what's next, what's happened to recovery, how can we use the other SBA programs like the SBA Express program that's now up to $1 million. How can we get those programs to be utilized efficiently, effectively, quickly by businesses that are going to still need more money and are going to be in a position to borrow it, but I want to make sure that banks are in a position that want to lend it. I don't know if there's going to be any more stimulus money coming out, except for maybe some tax abatements and stuff like that for small business. But for the most part, the next phase is going to depend on state governments and the SBA basically putting together more lending opportunities, more funding opportunities that are going to be easily accessible for those businesses that deserve that money, that deserve that opportunity, that won't survive without it, but may need an additional $100,000 or $200,000 or up to $1 million to basically keep themselves relevant and vital until business picks up, until we get back to where we were 3-4 months ago.
And how is it determined how much each state gets, or Nevada? How does that dollar amount come about? Do you know?
It was based on application. There was no predetermined amount any state got in either EIDL or PPP funding. It was based on application. So that the $4 billion in PPP and the almost $750 million in EIDL money is based on application only. People's wants, needs, and ability to apply.
Well, that's a lot of good information. So, yeah. And because I was very fortunate to, because I'm in the accounting industry, and it's fortunate and unfortunate, but I was fortunate for my business to grow because people needed to provide financials. And
Same
and that's true for these loans. Yeah. So I say the importance of what you have to do, to so that you can at least, have the option to apply for some of these loans. Well, thank you, Joe. I'm sorry you're at the airport. I'm not sure if anyone else has questions that you couldn't be on screen. We would have loved to have you on screen and maybe have you again.
Love to. I would love to. I'm sorry about technical difficulties here, but my computer is still not ramping up. Can't get into the Wi-Fi, so I apologize for that.
So for anybody else, before we let Joe go, because I know he's at the airport, of course, he's going to let you know how to contact him, any of the email addresses, if you have any questions, but you can always still listen again on the replay on any of our 13 podcast platforms, or watch any of the lives where you be able to connect with him directly, his direct contact, and plus any of the email addresses that he's provided. So if you don't mind, Joe, before you go, just again, repeat some of the contact emails or that they can get a hold of for any questions that they might have for any specific type of loan.
Okay, so if anybody needs to inquire about the status of their EIDL loan, they can reach out to the SBA directly at FOCWCOMMCOVID-19 That's for inquiries about the EIDL loan. If they have, if they're looking for reconsideration because they've been declined for an EIDL loan, they can basically go to reach the SBA directly at pdcrecons@sba.gov. In both instances, with your email, include your confirmation number for your EIDL loan and the name of your business and the reason why you're contacting them, whether it's for status or whether it's for reconsideration. And if anybody wants to reach out to me directly and has a question about a lender, finding a lender for PPP, or questions about EIDL and they're not getting satisfaction from those two email addresses, they can reach me at Joseph, JOSEPH, .Amato, AMATO, at SBA.gov.
Okay, everybody. Well, everyone so much for tuning in, and we are sorry that Joe wasn't be able to see his handsome face on the screen, you know, but you saw like on the post, he's a pretty good looking guy. But if you want to get a hold of him, he's left all of his information. Thank you so much, Joe, for being on our show and really helping and really giving some insight.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate it, and we'll see you on screen soon.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot. Have a great weekend. Bye, Joe.
Thank you, guys. Bye, everyone.